This segment is brought to you courtesy of Caribbean American Weekly, a newspaper owned and operated by Caribbean Americans. Read the latest edition at www.cawnyc.com. That's www.cawnyc.com. To like us on Facebook, to advertise or to subscribe, visit us at www.cawnyc.com. That's www.cawnyc.com. To advertise with the Caribbean American Weekly publication for freelance assignments to distribute at your business place, visit us at www.cawnyc.com. That's www.cawnyc.com. Or to meet a marketing representative at our office, call 718-771-0988. That's 718-771-0988. Welcome back to another episode of Sports Vibes here on Inception FM Radio, your go-to station for all things hoops and the latest buzz around the NBA. I am Pearl Phillip, and today we've got a special treat for you, for all the basketball fans tuning in. The Eastern Conference Finals are officially over, and in what can only be described as an intense series, the Indiana Pacers have triumphed over the New York Knicks, clinching the series 4-2. A lot to unpack here: what went wrong for the Knicks, what changes are on the horizon for both teams, and the breaking news: Coach Thibodeau has been fired. We dive in deep into all that and more with none other than Knicks Superfan Harmonie Lewis. Harmonie is here to share his thoughts on the season, the playoffs, and what's next for his beloved Knicks. So grab your snacks, settle in, and let's talk basketball. Harmonie, how are you holding up?
I'm holding up surprisingly well. Had you told me Saturday evening, probably not. I went to sleep immediately. However, it's been a crazy 48 hours with the Knicks. They decided to, jump ship off the guy who kind of helped build them there, but I'm okay.
Okay. All right. So we know that you've been following the Knicks all season. How would you describe the team's performance in this series? What went wrong, and where do you think they fell short again against the Pacers?
Well, when you look back at game one, up 17 in the fourth quarter, I think with Brunson on the bench, looking like, okay, we're going to cruise here. We're going to take our time. We understand the Indiana stuff, but we got a victory in hand. And then they lost that game, taking away the momentum they had. And then on top of that, on top of blowing the lead, not putting somebody on Naismith, and then that shot that flipped up in the air, waited a little bit, and then dropped down to tie the game into overtime, and you knew the Knicks' aura was completely gone from that point. That right there, the 17-point lead, that shot and losing that game turned the series completely around. Completely. It changed the narrative. It changed how you looked at the team. It changed how you looked at the coach, who is no longer a coach, who we'll talk about later. But it exposed the flaws in how that style was being played, and it had to change. A good thing for the Knicks, they actually fought there, and they won 2 games out of this series from losing 2 at home. Like, it's almost a miracle you did that, the way the first a couple of games were looking. But at the end of the day, their flaws were there, and they already started to make moves on it.
So looking back, the Knicks had some highs during the regular season, but the Pacers really took control in this series. Were there any particular moments or games that made it feel like the Knicks were outmatched, apart from what happened in game one?
The fact that they they were in a track meet. As soon as you score, they would completely run across the court, and it just flummoxed everybody on the team. And it took a while for the Knicks to actually get apart there, and they had to hope that they will miss open threes, which they did a couple of times, which made the game a little bit competitive. But once they kept to the backcourt, it seemed like it was in the Knicks game, but they never got a chance to fully grasp control of that. And unfortunately, you didn't see enough from Bridges to bring it apart. I mean, the ups in the series, you saw Coach actually go to his bench. The problem with that is you're a couple games away from the championship, and now you want to tinker with your bench that you haven't seen in probably months. That looked like not only a panic move, but an insane move to do at this point of the game. To the point where you had the coach of the Pacers telling you, hey, you played guys you didn't see in a while. Maybe we'll see this guy in the next game. And guess what? Coach Thibodeau threw that guy in the game. So it was really weird. It was really weird.
I thought there was some concern when I saw they playing that fast-paced game, because that's really not the Knicks. That's not Knicks basketball. And being that they're not deep playing the bench players, that, it would eventually catch up to them. And I think it did.
Yeah, absolutely. It did. To bury the lead here, this is the reason why Thibodeau was fired. Not, you had a coaching style and you had to completely change it. I give you credit for adapting, but the problem is you don't know who those players are going to be because you don't play them.
It's
you only
unfair
play about
to them.
2-3 guys. Yeah. I haven't seen this guy Wright much in the league play. I haven't seen him play for the Knicks much at all. And now he's playing important minutes. And he's trying to actually get in the flow of the game. Nah, that was insane. And you have another big man on the bench in Hawk Porty that you never played really. And you have Cat that's a defensive liability out there. He could score. You have Mitchell Robinson. Yeah, he's your anchor, but you need somebody else there, and you have it. You used other guys off your bench, and you didn't use that. So that was a little weird. So I don't know, man. The strange thing about this series, I remember we spoke a couple of weeks ago, and I remember when they played Detroit, and the way he was coaching against Detroit, if he didn't get out of that series, you knew that he was probably going to be gone the way that the NBA cycle was looking. The fact that the Knicks got rid of him, I give the Knicks some credit here because I thought that they would give him one more chance to see if he would actually evolve his game. But you need somebody who that you can trust that would make those decisions earlier so that when you get into a moment like this, you're more prepared for it and it doesn't shock you.
Exactly. So the Pacers' defensive strategies seem to really stifle the Knicks' offense. What do you think the Knicks should have done differently, especially in terms of adjusting their game plan to come back Indiana's defense?
Well, unfortunately, they should have tinkered a little bit with this in the regular season, where you would have the ball move a little bit more instead of kind of like a isolation offense with Brunson dribbling it down, and then you're trying to work around to see guys who's going to get open. And yeah, he has the players that could work with it. And yeah, they were successful during the regular season at that. But at the end of the day, you need to have a better game plan when you have a team that says, okay, we're going to make sure that there's multiple bodies on your best player, and then we're going to try to see how you work around that. And unfortunately, Knicks couldn't get an offensive groove through that with Brunson on the court. Now, we've been fortunate because Brunson has been pulling us out of games throughout most of the year. That's why he won
Clutch Player of the Year.
Yeah. But you have to have a flow of your offense. If you don't have a flow of your offense, then it just stays the same. So it was easier to guard. It was easier to guard the Knicks if you know, hey, he has Brunson. Brunson is going to do his thing, but we're going to make it hard for him. But they threw Naismith. They threw, oh man, they threw so many different. Like Naismith did such a good job on him, and they threw multiple guards on that team, and they just kept throwing people at him, different types of people. To the point where Cat offensively, Karl Anthony Towns had a great series offensively, but they knew what to do. They just, figured they'll just tire him out because they know he'll make a stupid foul. So unfortunately, when we didn't have a flow, they took advantage of it. When they were sloppy mistakes, when they were sloppy turnovers, because you knew what Brunson was going to do. You knew he was going to pound the rock. So all you had to do was play the lane, because when he passes, you just have guys that are looking for him when he actually tries to pass the ball. And when that happened, Indiana was able to get those quick turnovers, and that killed the Knicks in this series. The fast break points was like 4-1. It was ridiculous. And those kind of things is what really hurt them.
So, Harmonie, Coach Thibodeau's coaching has been a major talking point throughout the season and also last season, and now he has been fired. So, what do you think about that?
I like Coach Thibodeau. I like the fact that he brought the intensity to the team and the defensive mindset. You gave the Knicks an identity. You built the identity on the team. The problem is when you have that and you realize that there's certain changes that happen around you, and then you are the person that are not willing to change, that is where we have to make a change with that guy. And unfortunately, when you have such a difference in coaching styles and you see somebody get exposed, you see all of their flaws laid out in front of you. And then you have to ask yourself, is this person willing to change in order for us to move forward? And if you've looked at his history with the Chicago Bulls and their medical issues that they had with Coach Thibodeau when they reached the conference finals with Derrick Rose and stuff like that, and their team kind of broke apart. You saw Minnesota when he was there the first time, and they had some success earlier. And then eventually the team kind of fell apart. And, with the Knicks, you actually had Coach Thibodeau's most healthiest team that he's ever had. So this was his chance to actually show, okay, I've run my players through the ground. They've stayed relatively healthy this series. Let me go and do the best that I could. The best that he could was not able to change to help a team win. And unfortunately, we don't know if we're ever going to get a year like that where you have this many people healthy with the style that he plays.
Well, the playoffs is about adjustments, and he's known to be stubborn. I mean, he tried, but I think he tried too late, and it really wasn't effective changes that he made. So, that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Absolutely.
So, looking forward to the off-season, what changes or additions do you think the Knicks should prioritize to make a deeper playoff push next year? Do they need more firepower, or are there other areas to address?
When you get this close to the finals, you're 2 games away from a finals, and you could argue 1.5 with how game 1 was. You figure that you would need some tweaks and not a full overhaul. The problem is, I don't know who the coach is going to be, what their philosophy is going to be, and then who are you going to give up in order to improve the team? Now, the most obvious answer is Karl Anthony Towns. And the most obvious superstar is Giannis Antetokounmpo
The Greek
from
freak.
Milwaukee. The Greek freak. That's the most obvious decision to make that kind of swap. And then what you will have is you'll have a Knicks team with Brunson, Giannis, and those other guys. But not only Giannis as a scorer getting to the hole, you have Giannis, the defender, anchoring your defense with a defensive-minded team. So not only would you have two great wing defenders in OG and Bridges, but you also have a great big defender, even though he's like a 4, but in this NBA, he's a 5. So it's going to work. Those three guys anchoring your defense, and then you have Josh Hart off the bench, maybe, potentially. We'll see how it will go. And, you could have a starting 5 of Giannis, Brunson, Bridges, OG, and that defensive strategy could work. But then you wonder which coach you're going to have to implement this. The best coach to implement something like that would have been Coach Thibodeau, but he can't make adjustments as you saw. So you got to think of like coaches that, could be, who are available or could be available pretty soon. Like there's people that I would personally like Eric Spoelstra from Miami, but I don't think he's ever going to leave that place.
Oh, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever
Move on.
Yeah, but another coach that you could think about is probably Jason Kidd from the Dallas Mavericks. With what happened with Luka and the situation there, I'm not sure if he actually even wants to stay on the team. We'll see how that goes. But as far as somebody that's available, you'll have to go
Malone,
back in
the guy from Denver, the former coach of the Denver Nuggets, Michael Malone.
I don't think so, because his mentality is similar to Thibs. Like, he's a hard-nosed guy. He likes to play his players. He likes to get in your face. He will tell you when you're doing something wrong. And I mean, I respect that coaching style. However, if you're going to get rid of Coach Thibodeau, you don't kind of replace him with the same guy. Like if you're going to get Mike Malone, you might as well have kept Coach Thibodeau, to be honest with you. But I'm thinking in the way back machine. I'm thinking, what about guys like Jeff Van Gundy?
I was just going to ask you a blast from the past.
Yeah, I wonder if a guy like that, with the way the Knicks are, would help them. And he's not doing any commentating anymore since ESPN.
Yeah, he's an assistant coach of the Clippers.
Yeah, I mean,
special coach.
Yeah,
there,
he is.
so,
but
yeah,
I think he would leave to come back here. I think enough time has passed for that to happen. Another idea was probably Mark Jackson, but I think around league circles he's burned a lot of bridges. So I think that's the reason why he's not in the league right now. So that's what my head is. That's what I'm thinking about.
What about Taylor Jenkins from the Grizzlies? He was the ex-coach for the Grizzlies.
I like him, but the issue with him is he was also stubborn with his offense too. So a lot of people from Memphis, even though the outside Memphis community was shocked, inside Memphis they were a little relieved because they understood the kind of offense that he was running, and they didn't like what he was running at all. So I'm thinking, my number one would probably be Jason Kidd. If I can't get Jason Kidd, then I'll have to really consider about people like Jeff Van Gundy. But another thing to mention, I've never seen the Knicks get rid of somebody this quickly that they liked. Because they really liked Thibodeau. They really gave him chances. But the fact they got rid of him this quick means to tell me that they already have somebody in mind. we probably would get an answer within like a week or two, probably within these finals.
We'll talk about that then. So, as a Knicks Superfan, how would you evaluate the performance of some key players in this series? Did any player on the Knicks step up, or was it more of a collective failure to execute?
The player that stepped up was Mitchell Robinson, because when he got going and he was grabbing rebounds, you figured the Knicks were going to be in control and win the game. And when he did that, like, you felt comfortable, you know. Also, Karl Anthony Towns he had his ups and downs, and he's a player pretty much in the middle. Offensively, he was aggressive. He didn't take too many silly threes, even though he did take them in the series. But when he didn't take the silly threes, he was aggressive, and you felt like the Knicks were in control. That same player, though, the silly turnovers, he even said it after Game 5. He spoke to Charles and Kenny and Chuck, and he was wondering, like, and Shaq, he was wondering, like, you know, why are you doing so many super fouls? He's like, I don't know. So that just means to tell me is, like, mentally he just, like, kind of, like, checks out, or
we call it low basketball IQ.
I don't want to say that. I think
I'm saying it.
IQ's kind of high. I think mentally he just, like, goes off. Because there's guys who's just, like, complete idiots on the court. Like, unfortunately, J.R. Smith. He was one of those guys where it didn't matter. Like, it just didn't make sense on the court. This guy, he just kind of, like, short circuits. Like, you know, he's just like he's plugged into the wall, and then somebody accidentally throws water, and then he just shook, and it's like, you don't know what happened. It's like, dude, you were working like 5 minutes ago. What happened? And you don't understand it. So I digress a little bit there, but the most disappointing person was Mikal Bridges. Again, 5 picks for what? Like, yes, defensive availability and your physical availability. That's fine. But he didn't really make the impact that you wanted him to make. You wanted him to make the defensive impact that would shut down offensive scorer like Tyrese Halliburton. You figured, and during Game 1, if he was scoring like that, you would have somebody D up Neesmith, so he won't just shoot threes, kicking his leg in the air so many times. Like, the defensive struggles at times from him made no sense to me. Also, offensively, you know, his game would be, you know, pull up and do like a fadeaway or a mid-range jumper. His game was the mid-range jumper. He didn't drive enough in order for the Knicks to have another legitimate scorer. And he has the ability. He just hasn't done it. And unfortunately, we don't have a series anymore because he wasn't what he was brought here to be. He's brought here to be the glue to stick on the people and the glue to bring this team together to try to push for a championship. It didn't happen. I don't know why. We'll see next year. Hopefully it'll be better.
Yeah, it's going to be a long summer. So that's a wrap on today's Sports Vibes on Inception FM Radio. A huge thank you to Harmonie Lewis for coming through and giving us the inside scoop on the Knicks' tough series loss to the Pacers. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Harmonie. The season is just around the corner. There's a lot to look forward to. Let's see who's going to replace Tibbs. Will the Knicks make some big moves? Will it be the Greek Freak or Kevin Durant? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, yeah. The road to next season has already begun.
Absolutely. You know what? To pull back the curtain here, I've already said, you know, my wife is a Celtics fan here. Mm-hmm. We actually had our anniversary on the day of Game 6. And she just kept looking at me with a twinkle in her eye, watching the Knicks fall, and I just couldn't stand it.
Oh.
But that's my life. Hopefully yours is a lot.
That's sports for you. Well, until next time, keep it locked, keep it moving, and as always, stay vibing with basketball. Thank you so much, Harmonie.
You got it.
All right. This segment was brought to you courtesy of Caribbean American Weekly, a newspaper owned and operated by Caribbean Americans. Read the latest edition at www.cawnyc.com. That's www.cawnyc.com. To like us on Facebook, to advertise, or to subscribe, visit us at www.cawnyc.com. That's www.cawnyc.com. To advertise with the Caribbean American Weekly publication for freelance assignments to distribute at your business place, visit us at www.cawnyc.com. That's www.cawnyc.com. Or to meet a marketing representative at our office, call 718-771-0988. That's 718-771-0988.